Q8081. When does valve overlap occur in the operation of an aircraft reciprocating engine? A. At the end of the exhaust stroke and the beginning of the intake stroke. B. At the end of the power stroke and the beginning of the exhaust stroke. C. At the end of the compression stroke and the beginning of the power stroke. The correct answer is A. Valve overlap occurs in an aircraft reciprocating engine at the end of the exhaust stroke and the beginning of the intake stroke. During this period, both the exhaust valve and the intake valve are partially open simultaneously. The exhaust valve opens at the end of the power stroke to allow the combustion gases to be expelled from the cylinder. At the same time, the intake valve begins to open, allowing the fresh air-fuel mixture to enter the cylinder in preparation for the next combustion cycle. This brief period of valve overlap helps in achieving efficient scavenging of exhaust gases and optimal intake of the fuel-air mixture. Valve overlap is carefully designed and timed in the engine's camshaft and valve train to ensure proper engine performance, efficient combustion, and effective cylinder filling. Q8082. What is an advantage of using metallic sodium-filled exhaust valves in aircraft reciprocating engines? A. Increased strength and resistance to cracking. B. Reduced valve operating temperatures. C. Greater resistance to deterioration at high valve temperatures. The correct answer is B. Some of the exhaust valves on airplane engines are hollow and partially filled with metallic sodium. The sodium melts when the engine is running, which causes the valve to open, and when the valve closes, the molten sodium slides back and forth inside. It absorbs heat while it is within the head. This heat is transferred to the valve guides when it is in the stem. Sodium-filled valves lower the operating temperature of the valve. Q8083. Valve clearance changes on opposed-type engines using hydraulic lifters are accomplished by A. Rocker arm adjustment. B. Rocker arm replacement. C. Pushrod replacement. The correct answer is C. Install a pushrod with a slightly different length when building an opposed engine with hydraulic valve lifters if the valve clearance is outside of the permitted range. Q8084. What is likely to occur if a reciprocating engine is operated at high power settings before it is properly warmed up? A. Oil starvation of bearings and other parts. B. Excessive engine oil pressure. C. Thermal shock of cylinders. The correct answer is A. Before an aircraft engine has been thoroughly warmed up and the oil is warm enough to flow smoothly through all of the passageways, it should never be run at high power settings. Cold oil and high power operation might starve the bearings of oil. Q8085. An increase in manifold pressure with a constant RPM will cause the bearing load in an engine to A. Decrease. B. Remain relatively constant. C. Increase. The correct answer is C. Manifold pressure refers to the pressure of the air-fuel mixture in the intake manifold of an engine. Increasing manifold pressure typically indicates a higher intake air density, which results in a greater volume of air entering the engine cylinders during each intake stroke. When the manifold pressure increases, the engine's power output and load also increase. This increased power output puts additional load and stress on various engine components, including the bearings. Bearings are responsible for supporting rotating shafts within the engine, such as the crankshaft and camshaft. As the power output of the engine increases, so does the load on the bearings. The increased load is a result of higher combustion pressures and forces within the engine. Therefore, an increase in manifold pressure, which leads to increased power output, causes the bearing load in an engine to increase.